Have you ever fired up your grill on a beautiful summer afternoon, thrown on some thick, juicy-looking quarter pounders, and then watched in absolute horror as they shriveled up into dry, rubbery hockey pucks while swimming in a literal puddle of mysterious gray liquid? You probably blamed your cooking skills, the heat of the charcoal, or maybe just bad luck. But what if I told you that your burger didn't shrink because you overcooked it, but because the multi-billion-dollar food industry engineered it to fail? What if the meat you bought from your local grocery store wasn't even entirely meat, but a highly processed chemistry experiment designed to mimic fresh beef just long enough for you to swipe your credit card? Today, we are completely ripping the shiny plastic film off the American supermarket meat aisle to expose a systemic culture of cost-cutting and corporate deception. By the time we finish this investigation, you will find out exactly how major food conglomerates legally water down their beef while charging you premium prices. I will show you the hidden structural binders, derived from things like industrial wood pulp and pharmaceutical coatings, that are lurking in your favorite backyard barbecue patties right now. We will break down the precise laboratory data, regulatory loopholes, and expert insights that separate a genuine, high-quality burger from overpriced supermarket garbage. And make sure you watch until the absolute end, because our number one spot reveals a deceptive branding trap so widespread across major American retailers that it will completely change the way you look at grocery store shelves forever. Before we name the specific brands that deserve a permanent B and from your shopping cart, we need to build a quick educational foundation. We need to talk about how a burger is actually supposed to be built versus how the food industry manipulates it. In a perfect world, a beef patty is incredibly simple. It is ground beef muscle, a balanced ratio of lean to natural fat, and maybe a touch of seasoning. That natural fat is the engine of the burger. It provides the moisture, the flavor, and the structural integrity when it hits a hot cooking surface. But fat is expensive to process properly, and lean beef is even pricier. To maximize profit margins, industrial food manufacturers rely on a highly calculated formulation strategy to artificially stretch their inventory. Think of it like buying a brand new sports car, only to find out the manufacturer swapped the engine with a lawnmower motor and stuffed the body panels with cheap foam to keep it looking shiny in the showroom. The primary weapon of mass deception in the commercial burger industry is added water. Water is incredibly cheap, heavy, and adds instant volume to a product sold by weight. But you can't just pour tap water into ground beef and call it a day. The liquid would immediately leak out into the tray, turning the packaging into a soggy, unappealing mess. To solve this, food scientists use structural scaffolding. They introduce highly absorbent plant fibers like pea fiber, bamboo pulp, and chemically modified cornstarches to act as an industrial sponge. These fibers lock the added water deep inside the meat matrix, trapping it there so the patty looks plump, firm, and deceptively premium while sitting under the fluorescent lights of the meat case. But the moment that patty hits the thermal shock of a hot grill or cast iron skillet, the physical trap springs open. The heat causes those plant fibers to collapse, and that trapped water instantly turns to steam and escapes. The result? Your burger literally boils itself from the inside out, leaking out its volume and leaving you with a tiny, tough piece of meat that lost half its original weight. To make matters worse, all that added water and plant filler ruins the natural color of the beef, turning it a dull, unappetizing gray. To fix this cosmetic nightmare, corporations turn to chemical preservatives like sulfites, specifically sodium metabisulfite. These compounds act as an artificial time machine, reacting with the proteins in the meat to force them to retain a bright, vibrant, blooming pink color, even if the meat has been sitting in a distribution warehouse for weeks. This is a conversational warning to anyone trying to eat clean. When you see these industrial additives on a label, it is the ultimate red flag that the brand is hiding low-grade meat behind a wall of laboratory chemistry. Now that you know the rules of the game, let's look at the actual brands pulling these tricks on American consumers. We are starting our breakdown with a product that targets the most vulnerable shoppers, the health-conscious consumers who are actively trying to make better choices for their bodies. Let's look at Great Value 93.7 lean beef patties, found in the frozen and chilled aisles of Walmart. On the front of the box, it screams 93% lean, waving a flag of dietary virtue that naturally attracts anyone looking to cut down on fat. But when you flip the package over and dig into the microscopic text on the ingredients panel, the corporate illusion shatters. To compensate for the fact that stripping out the natural, flavorful fat leaves the meat dry, crumbly, and virtually tasteless, the manufacturing process relies on industrial engineering. The lab analysis shows added water, soy protein concentrate, and maltodextrin smuggled into the mix as structural fillers. They use sodium phosphate to chemically force the lean meat to hold on to the added moisture so it doesn't look like a dry brick in the store. Food scientist Dr. Aristing Simmons notes that heavy reliance on phosphates and sodium-based texturizers means a single one of these lean patties packs a massive sodium punch before you even sprinkle a grain of salt on it. You think you're buying pure, lean American beef, but you're actually paying premium prices for water weight and cheap soy binders. The verdict zinger is simple. It's a fitness product engineered like a chemical sponge. Moving right along, let's step into the everyday tier with the Kroger traditional beef patties. A staple found in millions of Midwestern and coastal shopping baskets. It doesn't make massive artisanal claims. It's just positioned as the reliable, family-friendly choice for a weekend barbecue. But if you analyze the formulation, actual beef content is heavily stretched. The second ingredient on the list isn't a seasoning or a spice. It is plain water, followed immediately by cornstarch and wheat flour filler. These processed starches are added for the sole purpose of absorbing that excess water, so the patty appears plump and uniform in its plastic tray. Real consumer reviews on Consumer Affairs point to a frustratingly consistent experience. The moment these hit a hot skillet or grill, they release a massive wave of gray, watery liquid. The burgers literally boil in their own juices on the grill grates, shrinking down to nearly 2/3 of their raw size. You end up with a hockey puck texture because the added water cooks out, leaving the starchy binders behind to harden. It is a classic volume scam disguised as an everyday value buy. If you already feel like checking your own freezer right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because the corporate tricks get significantly harsher from here. Let's talk about the Market Pantry beef patties from Target. Target built its entire brand identity on affordable style and clean, reliable quality, but their entry-level ground beef patties tell a very different story. To keep production costs incredibly low while maintaining a competitive shelf price, the ingredient list reveals a heavy reliance on textured vegetable protein and isolated soy product. Soy isolates are highly processed plant extracts used to mimic the texture of meat fibers at a fraction of the cost. When you bite into one of these cooked patties, the texture feels strangely spongy, lacking the distinct, hearty grain of real ground beef muscle. The price per ounce looks like a bargain compared to the local butcher, but when you calculate how much of that ounce is actual beef versus cheap industrial soy filler, the math reveals you are being taken for a ride. Corporate acquisitions and supply chain optimizations have turned what should be a simple meat product into a processed food matrix. Next up is a brand that relies heavily on evocative, seasonal marketing, Good & Gather summer barbecue beef patties, also featured prominently on Target's seasonal shelves. The packaging is gorgeous, bright, warm tones, imagery of glowing charcoal, and text that instantly makes you think of sunny afternoon pool parties and perfect American holidays. But a look behind the marketing curtain reveals that the manufacturer used a dual-action plant fiber scaffolding system to hold the patty together. Both pea fiber and bamboo fiber are explicitly listed on the back of the pack. Bamboo pulp fiber is an incredibly cheap industrial byproduct used in mass-scale food manufacturing because it absorbs massive amounts of water and holds its shape under pressure. In plain English, part of the reason your summer burger looks so thick and solid in the tray is that wood pulp and plant stalks have been pressed into the meat. When heat is applied, the artificial matrix collapses, the water cooks out rapidly, and you're left with a deflated piece of meat that looks nothing like the picture-perfect graphic on the box. Now we enter the trend-chasing category with the Members Mark Smash Burger Patties from Sam's Club. Smash burgers are a massive nationwide restaurant trend, loved for their thin, crispy, intensely caramelized edges created by smashing pure beef onto a roaring hot flat-top grill. Sam's Club capitalized beautifully on this food craze with their chilled multi-packs. But a deep dive into the ingredients reveals that the golden brown crust you get when cooking these isn't entirely from high-quality beef searing naturally. The formulation contains dextrose, a highly processed simple sugar. When dextrose hits a hot cooking surface, it undergoes rapid artificial caramelization, burning dark brown to create the cosmetic illusion of a perfectly seared restaurant burger. Alongside the sugar, the label carries sodium metabisulfite to preserve the raw pink color and maltodextrin as a bulking agent. It is a complete stylistic illusion where laboratory chemistry mimics traditional chef techniques. Let's cross over to the premium tier, where the discoveries get truly uncomfortable because the price tag goes up significantly. Consider the Applegate Organics Clean 30 approved beef burgers. Sold at Whole Foods and premium grocers, this brand positions itself as the ultimate ethical, clean eating choice for discerning consumers. However, real consumer complaints focus heavily on an unexpected ingredient: heavy doses of organic rosemary extract and celery powder used as alternative preservatives. While it sounds natural, laboratory testing reveals these concentrated extracts are used to chemically lock in moisture and alter the curing process, so the meat lasts significantly longer on the shelf without turning gray. The result for the consumer is a distinct, highly metallic herbal aftertaste that completely overpowers the natural flavor of the organic beef. You are paying a massive premium for a clean label. Yet the sensory experience is completely manipulated by heavy food technology extracts. The level of irony peaks when we look at the Tyson-crafted thicker beef patties. Found across major regional chains like Safeway and Publix, the branding uses the word crafted in bold lettering, evoking images of a local artisan butcher hand forming small batches of meat with pride. But Tyson is one of the largest corporate meat processors on earth, and this product runs on a highly automated, cost-cut formula. The back of the package lists hydrolyzed corn protein and autolyzed yeast extract, industrial flavor enhancers used to mimic a rich, savory beef flavor when the quality of the underlying meat cuts isn't strong enough to carry the product on its own. A real craft butcher doesn't need to add chemical yeast extracts to make beef taste like beef. Tyson uses its massive distribution power to occupy premium shelf space with a product that relies on the same chemical flavor enhancers found in instant ramen packets. Now, let's talk about the most trusted, most expensive premium trap on the market: the Whole Foods Market Premium Wagyu Beef Burgers. Wagyu is one of the most prestigious luxury words in the entire culinary universe, originating in Japan, where cattle lines are raised under legendary conditions to produce unparalleled fat marbling. When an American shopper sees that black and gold Wagyu label at Whole Foods, they expect an elite dining experience. But when you read the fine print on the back, the beef isn't from Japan at all. It is sourced from domestic crossbred American Wagyu or imported Australian commercial herds. While those are legitimate livestock categories, they are a massive step down from the traditional, authentic Japanese experience. Shockingly, the ingredients panel for this premium product still lists added water and sodium tripolyphosphate as texture stabilizers. When a luxury brand charging top dollar prices still needs to use industrial phosphates to chemically bind water to the meat matrix, corporate marketing and reality have completely split ways. You are paying imported steak prices for a chemically stabilized burger patty. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the dark, murky waters of the corporate chemical laboratory, so let's finally talk about the brands that respect both your wallet and your digestive tract. The transition from exposure to execution is the real reward here, because clean, beautifully made options genuinely exist right on your local supermarket shelves. You do not have to resort to a luxury private butcher to escape the wood pulp scaffolding and sugar-coated cosmetic tricks. You just need to look for options that prioritize minimal intervention, zero foods water dilution, and complete transparency. Let's kick things off with the most budget-friendly, high-volume mainstream winner on the market: Kirkland Signature Grass-Fed Beef Patties, available in the massive freezer cases at your local Costco. Costco's philosophy has always been built around direct, no-nonsense value, and their frozen grass-fed patties deliver exactly that. When you check the ingredient profile, it contains exactly one item: 100% grass-fed beef. There are no starches, no chemical color stabilizers, no hidden soy proteins, and absolutely zero added water. The ratio sits at a perfect 80% lean to 20% natural fat, which is widely considered by professional chefs to be the gold standard for structural integrity and juiciness. In practice, when you throw these frozen patties directly onto a screaming hot charcoal grill, the sensory experience is a complete shift from the value brands we covered earlier. They do not pool water or boil from the inside out. Instead, they hit the grate and immediately begin to sizzle in their own natural fats, creating a beautiful, authentic crust while retaining their structural thickness. The price breakdown is an absolute steal when converted to cost per serving, running at a fraction of the cost of individual premium grocery store packs. The only minor downside is that you have to buy them in a massive bulk box, requiring some dedicated real estate in your home freezer. But for anyone looking to feed a large backyard crowd without feeding them chemical preservatives, this is the ultimate financial and nutritional win. Open Food Facts Show 1 if you are looking for an accessible, fresh option without the commitment of a giant bulk box. Look no further than the Trader Joe's organic grass-fed ground beef patties. Trader Joe's has maintained an incredibly loyal consumer following by keeping its ingredient panels remarkably clean while skipping the high-end boutique price markups. Their fresh organic patties come from cattle raised entirely on open pastures without a single trace of antibiotics or growth hormones. The ingredient list is completely spotless, just organic grass-fed beef, processed at an 85-15 lean-to-fat ratio. The sensory payoff here is immediate. The meat has a distinct, deep, slightly earthy aroma that is completely characteristic of authentic, pasture-raised cattle. And the natural fat marbling ensures the patty stays perfectly tender without needing an army of industrial starches to lock in artificial water weight. Independent laboratory tracking from food safety watchdogs consistently highlights Trader Joe's fresh grass-fed meat lines for their total absence of synthetic fillers and chemical binding agents. It is the ideal trustworthy choice for a quick Tuesday night family dinner or a small spontaneous weekend gathering, giving you total peace of mind at a price point that doesn't feel like a luxury indulgence. Costco Business Center now. If you want to experience the absolute peak of what a pre-packaged supermarket burger can possibly be, we have to look at the ultimate winner of this entire investigation. Force of Nature regenerative, pasture-raised ancestral beef patties, prominently featured in the specialty meat coolers at Whole Foods Market. Force of Nature is a brand founded on a radical, uncompromising philosophy of environmental regeneration and absolute food purity. They don't just avoid chemical additives, they completely reinvent the sourcing pipeline. Their ancestral blend features grass-fed beef meticulously combined with a small, nutrient-dense percentage of pasture-raised beef liver and heart. Before you panic about the organ meat, let's look at the sensory reality. The organs are completely seamless, ground so finely into the muscle meat that you cannot taste them at all. Instead, they act as a natural flavor amplifier, giving the burger an incredibly rich, steakhouse-level depth of flavor and an exceptionally juicy, buttery mouthfeel that leaves every single standard grocery store burger in the dust. The ingredient list reads like a purist's dream. Grass-fed beef, beef liver, beef heart. That is it. There is absolutely no added water, no dextrose, no sulfites, and no semi-synthetic stabilizers. Because this product avoids chemical color fixers and artificial preservatives entirely, it carries a noticeably shorter shelf life in the display case compared to its heavily processed competitors. If you don't cook them within a few days of purchase, they will naturally begin to lose their bright red color, which isn't a sign of spoilage, but the ultimate physical proof that there is zero laboratory chemistry inside, keeping the meat in a state of suspended animation. Yes, this is a premium product with a price tag that reflects its elite sourcing, but when you look at the sheer nutritional density and the flawless purity of the meat, every single cent of that markup is entirely justified. It is the perfect, no-compromise option for anyone who values peak athletic performance, clean nutrition, or simply wants to serve the absolute best possible quality to their family. You can taste the complete absence of corporate cost-cutting in every single bite. If you want to stop playing Russian roulette with your digestive health every time you host a backyard cookout, you need to arm yourself with a few non-negotiable shopping rules. The next time you walk into the meat aisle at Walmart, Target, or Safeway, don't let the smiling cartoon cows or bright red summer tags do the thinking for you. Your first rule is to ruthlessly ignore the front of the package and immediately turn the tray around to inspect the ingredient list. If the label contains more than 3 words, leave it on the shelf. A clean, premium patty needs only ground beef, salt, and pepper. Anything else is an industrial band-aid. Second, scan the text specifically for water, broth, or sodium phosphate. If water is listed as a primary or secondary component, you are actively paying beef prices for tap water that will evaporate the second it hits the heat. Third, treat terms like pea protein, bamboo fiber, soy isolate, or cornstarch as absolute corporate red flags. These are structural sponges used exclusively to lock in artificial liquid weight and mask low-grade meat scraps. Fourth, look closely for the chemical preservative sodium metabisulfite or any other sulfites. Under industrial food guidelines, these chemical agents are only allowed if the burger contains a significant amount of cheap plant filler, making their presence a legal confession of a watered-down product. Fifth, be fiercely skeptical of trendy buzzword branding like restaurant style or smash burger on the box, which corporations use as a smokescreen to pass off standard, chemically modified formulas at a 30% premium. Finally, remember that authentic, high-quality beef doesn't last for weeks in a home refrigerator. If a fresh patty boasts a ridiculously long shelf life, it means laboratory chemistry is keeping it looking artificially pink. The entire multi-billion-dollar commercial food industry relies heavily on the fact that the average shopper is too busy, too tired, or too distracted to read the back of the packet. They spend millions of dollars engineering gorgeous, rustic packaging designed to exploit your nostalgia for simple outdoor American cooking while quietly maximizing their profit margins with cheap wood pulp and liquid smoke. By shifting your thinking and refusing to buy anything but single ingredient or entirely unadulterated meat, you strip these massive food conglomerates of their marketing power and completely protect your plate from corporate deception. But honestly, if you want the absolute best result that costs less per serving than any premium prepackaged box at Whole Foods or Publix, you should easily make your own patties at home. Do not let the convenience trap fool you. Forming your own burgers takes less than 5 minutes of actual physical effort. Go to the fresh meat counter at Kroger, Trader Joe's, or Wegmans and pick up a pound of high-quality ground chuck with an 80-20 lean-to-fat ratio. Avoid the ultra-lean 90-10 blends, because that 20% natural fat is the exact engine that keeps a burger incredibly juicy and structurally sound without needing an army of industrial starches. Bring the meat home, add a flat teaspoon of coarse sea salt and a generous crack of fresh black pepper, mix it gently with your hands so you don't overwork the texture, and shape it into 4 equal patties about an inch thick. Press a tiny indentation into the center of each patty with your thumb to prevent it from puffing up into a football on the grill, and let them rest in the refrigerator for 30 minutes before cooking. When you throw those simple, homemade patties onto a roaring hot cast iron skillet or charcoal grill, the difference will blow your mind. They will sear beautifully in their own natural fats, forming a spectacular steakhouse crust without releasing a single drop of mysterious gray liquid. Every single person who has ditched the processed boxes and served these at a summer barbecue has had their guests ask which high-end specialty store they bought them from. They simply cannot believe it didn't come out of a commercial factory package. Thank you so much for watching this investigation all the way through to the end. If this video exposed the hidden tricks on your grocery store shelves and changed the way you'll shop for your next family cookout, please hit that hype button right now to help us push this vital information out to thousands of other households. Do me a huge favor and share this video with a friend or family member who buys those frozen multi-packs every single summer without ever looking at the label. Drop a direct comment below and tell us, which of these major supermarket brands is sitting in your freezer right now? And if you want to see exactly what the food industry is hiding in your morning routine,